Will the immigration crisis bankrupt U.S. cities? Is the immigration crisis in the U.S. putting cities on the verge of bankruptcy? Come with us as we get to the bottom of this important problem and reveal the secret costs and upcoming problems that cities across the country are facing. Will the large number of migrants drain the city's funds, or is there a way to get back on track financially despite the chaos? The argument goes on from New York to Chicago, and experts are giving the all clear. What are the real effects on the economy, and how can towns get around this mess? Get ready to learn about the untold story behind the immigration problem and how it might affect the city's ability to pay their bills. Are you ready to find out the truth? Major towns across the U.S. are having a hard time paying their bills because of the recent wave of immigrants. Simon Hankinson, a senior research fellow at the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank in Washington, D.C., said, "I think it's politically unsustainable for the Biden administration to keep this unlimited flow into what's essentially a welfare state network of cities like New York, Denver, and Chicago. More and more places like Chicago and New York are limiting the number of people who can come from the South by bus. But experts say that cities need more government help and money to make sure they can get through the current crisis." Dimmu Gandhi is the Senior Director of Immigration Policy at the Center for American Progress, a nonpartisan and progressive policy institute. She said, "The current level of federal funding to state and local government is a drop in the bucket compared to the need. Congress gave a very small amount of money, $800 million, to a FEMA program for the whole country last fiscal year to help cities help these newcomers. Cities, on the other hand, say that amount is not nearly enough. The Nonpartisan Migration Policy Institute says that the $145 million given to New York City is less than 10% of what the city spent on programs for migrants in fiscal year 2023. A senior fellow at the Migration Policy Institute named Muzaffar Chishi said, "This is a whole range of housing and services that people who are new to a place, new to a country, or new to a city need. These are hard problems to solve, and the city, state, and federal governments were not ready for them," she said. A dramatic turn of events surrounding the migrant crisis saw Mayor Eric Adams declare categorically that 110,000 asylum seekers from the southern border were destroying New York City, and that he did not see a way to stop the situation. The mayor opened a town hall-style event in Manhattan on Wednesday night by saying, "Let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. New York City will be destroyed by this issue." In his second year in office, Mr. Adams, a Democrat, has fought with prominent figures in his party over New York City's inability to accommodate the migrants' needs for housing and services. For months, Mr. Adams has begged for more funds and accelerated work permits, criticizing President Biden and Governor Kathy Hochul for not helping the city handle the asylum seekers. However, the mayor made his most concerning remarks to date on Wednesday. He cited updated estimates that the financial deficit for the city would reach around $12 billion, which is the same amount that the migrants are expected to cost the city over a 3-year period, according to municipal authorities. "This will have an impact on every community in the city," Mr. Adams stated during the meeting. "Every service in this city will be impacted by the $12 billion shortfall that we will have to make cuts to. All of us." Over 60,000 migrants are sleeping in conventional city shelters and more than 200 emergency locations as a result of the flood of migrants entering the city from the south. Thursday marked the return of pupils to school in New York City, and officials from the city estimated that 20,000 migrant children would be attending. The mayor has been pressing Mr. Biden for assistance on several occasions this summer. Due to the financial and logistical strain, last week he declared that the majority of the city's requests remained unaddressed and demanded a federal emergency as well as a nationwide decompression strategy at the border. On Wednesday, Mr. Adams reiterated the criticism. He declared, "On this national crisis, we're getting no support." Prior to the 2024 presidential election, Republican leaders, some of whom have transported buses full of migrants to New York, have been using the mayor's criticism of Mr. Biden as a talking point more and more. Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy cited Mr. Adams on Tuesday in a statement claiming that the Biden border crisis is hurting the country. Earlier this week, Republican former Vice President Mike Pence expressed his desire to offer a hat tip to the mayor of New York, who's been willing to call out President Joe Biden and his administration for their absolute failure to secure the southern border. Republicans, such as Representative Nicola Lota of New York, who praised Mr. Adams on X, the website that was then known as Twitter, for being truthful about the crisis and asked him to repeal NYC's sanctuary policies, found further justification in the mayor's remarks on Wednesday. However, it also infuriated immigrant advocacy organizations and certain Democrats, who labeled the mayor's remarks about immigrants as racist. This was a significant shift for a city where Ellis Island functioned as a point of entry into the United States for many years. What we've observed about the rhetoric he's using is that it's inciting people against their new neighbors negatively, the man stated. The mayor ought to be more aware. The immigrant community has made enormous contributions here. Mr. Adams sounded like fringe politicians on the far right of the political spectrum, according to the Legal Aid Society and the Coalition for the Homeless, who stated that his remarks villainize people who fled unimaginable situations in their home countries. But this has proven to be an extremely difficult task. He has made an effort to come out as kind to immigrants while simultaneously sounding the alarm about the cost of doing so. During a press conference on Wednesday, Ann Williams-Isom, the city's deputy mayor for Health and Human Services, stated that one of the main reasons migrants were choosing to settle in the city was the right to shelter clause. The right to refuge and what was happening in New York City, she continued, were like our little secret before. The world is now aware that should you visit New York City, we will carry out our customs. Our hearts are large. We're compassionate. People will be taken care of by us. In a statement, White House representatives defended their handling of New York's situation, pointing out that the state and city received an additional $140 million in federal funding this year, and that they had productive discussions with Governor Hochul about the best ways to assist the state. But according to White House spokesperson Angelo Fernandez, only Congress can reform our broken immigration system and provide additional resources to communities across the country. The growing number of rallies outside shelters and outside the mayor's Upper East Side home, Gracie Mansion, is one indicator of how polarizing the topic is in the city. At times, the tone has become aggressive, with demonstrators brandishing placards that read "Americans over migrants," shouting "Close the border," and loudly asking if the migrants were rapists or murderers. Living in the city, immigrants stated on Thursday that while they did not want to be a burden, they also did not want to be demonized. 53-year-old Nicaraguan Winder Donald, who has been in and out of shelters, said he was looking for work and had only been able to secure temporary construction jobs. "I don't know if we will be held accountable for destroying the city, but the reality is that I believe many of us came to New York by mistake because we are unable to find employment here," Mr. Donald remarked. "We cannot contribute if we do not have work permits." Mr. Donald claimed he had made the decision to leave New York and had just purchased a plane ticket to Indiana, where he was told by friends in Nicaragua that they would be able to find him work in a factory. Venezuelan-born Crispini Rojas, 28, moved to the city 3 months ago and now resides at a shelter in Long Island City, Queens. She claims that the staff there has not treated her well. She expressed her belief that remarks similar to those made by Mr. Adams fueled that animosity. "We are a burden to the city in certain ways, but we don't want to be that," Ms. Rojas stated. "We dislike being denigrated, but we also dislike being dependent on others." The Upper West Side, a posh district in Manhattan, whose people mainly abstained from voting for him in the 2021 mayoral primary, appeared to have been selected on purpose as the venue for the mayor's remarks. Mr. Adams questioned them about their efforts to address the migrant situation, stating that the neighborhood was home to some of the city's most intelligent residents. "Tell me what role you played as you asked me a question about migrants," he said. "How many of you banded together to demand that they stop abusing us?" Before taking questions from the audience, he issued one final dire warning, saying, "The city we knew, we're about to lose." Subscribe now to stay informed and join the conversation as we explore the challenges, solutions, and potential impacts on U.S. cities.